Welcome everyone to Whimsy Woven Stories. Here, we explore gripping tales of real-life twists. Join our storytelling community.
This happened in 2020. But it recently came up again, so I thought I'd ask for some perspective. I, a 17-year-old female, used to have a great relationship with my stepmother. I genuinely saw her as a mother figure in my life, and I was thrilled when she found out she was pregnant. However, everything changed in 2020 when I had to stay with my dad during the lockdowns because my mom is a surgeon. At first, everything seemed normal. But once my stepmother, Tammy, was about 4 months pregnant, she started snapping at me for no reason. Things that didn't bother her before suddenly did. I wasn't a messy or loud person. I did everything I was asked and followed the rules without backtalk. Despite my efforts, Tammy's anger towards me grew. It reached a point where she couldn't stand being in the same room as me. I ended up staying in my room most of the time, only leaving to do chores or get something from the kitchen. Even then, she would get angry. One day, she came into my room, furious, and started yelling that my room was so smelly it was making her sick. I pointed out that the only mess in the room was a half-empty bag of chips, which made her burst into tears. As always, Dad excused her behavior, saying she was struggling due to the lockdown, pregnancy, and not being able to see her family. My mental health deteriorated significantly. I felt like I was a burden and feared that my dad might abandon me. I was also worried about my mom getting sick. The stress was so severe that my hair started falling out. The breaking point came when I was sitting at the kitchen table, reading a story on my phone and waiting for my cereal to go soggy. Tammy came in, huffed, and started cleaning loudly, complaining about a mess even though the kitchen was spotless. She then took my bowl and threw it in the bin, including the bowl itself. I lost my temper and yelled at her, questioning why she had a problem with me and calling her an abusive tramp, among other things. My dad came running and intervened. Tammy demanded that I leave the house and that I was never allowed near her child. Dad walked me to my room and then said something that ruined our relationship forever. He told me that I must be doing something to make Tammy hate me because no one hates a child for no reason, and if I continued to stress her out, I'd have to move out. I then made a social media post asking for a place to stay, explained the situation in detail, packed a bag, and climbed out my bedroom window. After about 30 minutes, my phone started blowing up, but I turned it off and went to a friend's house. I texted my mom from my friend's phone to let her know what had happened. She didn't call for 7 hours because she was in surgery. She said my aunt would pick me up the next day. My mom told my father I was okay and that I'd be staying with my aunt for 2 weeks until she could come home. Apparently, Dad and Tammy had to go door to door to my family and friends' houses looking for me after I made the post. They received a lot of backlash for their actions. My grandparents still don't talk to my father to this day. My aunt packed up my room because I refused to go back into that house. I haven't spoken to my father in years or met my half-brother. Tammy and Dad still try to mend our relationship, claiming that sometimes pregnant women develop irrational hatred towards people or pets. I'm turning 18 in 3 weeks, and a cousin's girlfriend asked me about inviting my dad to a party, so I told her the story. She said that while what they did was wrong, my actions were also foolish because I made them worry and stress during a pandemic, which put a pregnant woman's mental health at risk. So, am I the idiot for letting my dad think I was missing? Update. Hi guys, I honestly thought I'd never give an update, but here I am. I'm going to refer to my cousin's girlfriend as Sarah and my cousin as Paul. I mentioned in a comment that I uninvited Sarah from the party. Yesterday, Paul came over to talk. He told me Sarah had issues with her younger siblings in the past. Apparently, Her siblings lived with their mom full-time while Sarah lived with their dad. Long story short, Sarah was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in college and went to therapy. Although she has apologized, her siblings still won't have anything to do with her, which breaks her heart. Paul said Sarah told him that when I shared my story, it triggered her because it reminded her of her situation with her siblings. I didn't mention in the original post because it was irrelevant, but Sarah texted me about letting go of the hate, links to sites about family members with mental health issues, numbers for family therapists, and even subreddits. She wanted to meet up to clear the air and apologize in person. I agreed. Sarah texted about half an hour later, offering to pick me up and drive to a new restaurant in the next town as a pre-birthday treat. We knew what she was planning, but Tammy ruined it by calling my mom and telling her Sarah's plans to help us reconcile. I wrote my dad a letter 2 days ago, as many of you suggested. I put everything in there, explaining how his actions still affect me. I told him I wanted a relationship with my brother but wasn't sure I'd ever want one with him. I asked him to leave me alone because his actions only pushed me away further, and if I ever decided to talk to him, it would be on my terms with my mom present. The letter ended up being 5 pages long, and you were right, it made me feel better. My mom dropped it off that day, and Dad asked to meet her the next day. They discussed me meeting my brother, and Dad said he wanted to buy me a car with no strings attached. They also asked if it would be okay to give me money for a birthday gift. I hate to admit it, but I'm accepting the car and $500. If he wants to give me more, he can, as college supplies and moving into a dorm are expensive. Back to Sarah, she contacted Tammy via Facebook, and Tammy sent my mom screenshots of their conversation. Sarah asked Tammy for her side of the story because she didn't believe me. To Tammy's credit, she told the truth and took full accountability. It was Sarah who kept trying to make Tammy seem like the victim. Sarah also told Tammy about her past and said she'd try to mend our relationship. Tammy told her she didn't want that. The last message was Sarah telling Tammy the location and time of the restaurant where we'd be meeting, even saying she'd drive me so I couldn't leave, even though I'd just asked a waitress for help or planned to call my mom. My mom posted the screenshots in the group chat, called Sarah a bunch of names, and warned her to stay away from me. I blocked Sarah and left the group chat, so I don't know what happened afterward. Paul came over with my aunt and swore he knew nothing about it, but I'm not sure if I believe him, as he was trying to defend Sarah again, which led to a verbal lashing from my aunt and mom. That's it for now. I'll update in a few months to let you know how everything went with my brother. I feel like I owe everyone that after so many people helped me take that step. Words can't describe how happy it's made me. It's truly the best birthday present I could have received. Thank you so much for the amazing advice and for sharing your own experiences. Even the women who suffered from mental illness helped me understand it a bit more. But I still can't forgive Tammy. I don't think we can ever rebuild our relationship to what it once was. Final update. Hi everyone. As promised, here's the final update. Short version. I turned 18 3 days ago and had a great time. I've met my brother, Sarah tried to get in touch with me again, and I've spoken with my father and Tammy. Sarah. A day after my last update, my mom booked a spontaneous holiday for a week, which was quite random for her. 3 days in, we got a notification that someone was at our door. It was Sarah. At first, Sarah seemed normal, asking my mom to speak with me. Then she started explaining herself and her situation, which fluctuated between sadness and anger. Suddenly, she lost control, began calling me names, and threatening me while damaging our door and porch, even breaking the Ring camera. It was extremely scary. I don't blame her siblings for not wanting anything to do with her. Sarah was arrested, and my mom is definitely pressing charges. I don't know much about her situation now, but I've been looking over my shoulder a lot since then. For those wondering, yes, her and my cousin broke up. He's shaken up, worse than me, and very apologetic. My birthday went great. I had an amazing time. Honestly, I have the best mother and family in the world. They really made my 18th special. I received many wonderful presents, but my favorite was the sister necklace my brother gave me. It wasn't from Dad or Tammy, but I finally get to be his sister, which I've wanted for so long. We've spent some time together, and I'm seeing him again tomorrow. He's extremely adventurous, never sits down for a second, and loves Miss Rachel and Green. I found out he and the neighbor's cat have staring contests, which reminds me of the ones I had when I stayed at Dad's. I could talk for hours about him. I'm so glad you all helped me meet him. I can't thank you enough. Dad. My dad was there the first time I met my brother. We met at Dad's siblings' house. Since my brother is basically a toddler, I was told he'd stay in the kitchen the whole time. I caught him peeking at me and my brother a few times throughout the day. When I was leaving, Dad followed me out and hugged me. He told me he missed me, and I hugged him back and told him I missed him too. It was the first time I had spoken to him in years. He apologized and took accountability. I started crying out of anger, then let everything out. I told him how his actions made me feel, my struggles with mental health, and that I love him but can never forgive him. He asked if he could try to make it up to me and be a part of my life again. I said we could try, but I'm making no promises about ever regaining the relationship we once had. We have spoken a few times, and he has helped me when I needed to bring my large dog home from the vet. Tammy, you might be surprised, but I was the one who contacted her. I had my mom call her and say, "Jessica is with me, she wants to speak to you." Tammy was shocked but agreed. I told her that after everything she put me through and how much she hurt me, we'd never have a relationship. However, for my brother's sake, I'm willing to be civil to avoid drama at his events. Tammy started apologizing and said she's not like that anymore and has gotten help. I told her I'm glad she's doing better. We briefly talked about Sarah and my brother for a few minutes. The whole call lasted about 20 minutes. I haven't spoken to her since, but that was about 5 days ago. So, that's the final update. I know people are thinking about my dad. I haven't forgiven him, and he will have to work extremely hard to rebuild the relationship we lost. But I feel better that he's back in my life. I do believe both he and Tammy regret their actions, but if I see any issues or think my brother isn't being treated well, I will make their lives hell.
Thanks for listening. Share your opinion in comment section, and also do like and subscribe to the channel.